on them. Launch the second wave of traumatizers.
Right, Doc.
Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I'm bringing you the land drone from RAMEN Toy. Now, these are test shots. They're not the final retail productions, and each one of them has a couple of flaws to them, which they pointed out when they sent them to me. But I am super stoked and excited to take a look at these. These are very similar to the KENNER CENTURIONS Traumatizer, which, if you know, the Traumatizer is probably, if not the most expensive item to get in the vintage KENNER toy line, and we have these that are a modern iteration and very similar yet different because they're their own thing. And we're going to talk about this. We're going to take a look at articulations. I'm going to show you the assembly process on one of these, and we're going to do tons of comparisons coming up. Okay, so it's not very often that I get to show the assembly of something like this, and so here is the main torso, and they sent me one that was assembled and then one that still needed to be assembled, so that's kind of cool. So first of all, the legs, there is the foot here, which is a simple ball joint that goes into it, but I am going to probably have to I reinforced one of these. I'm probably going to have to reinforce this one too, so not really too worried about that. Something that I can easily do if I need to, but I reinforced this one. That they had told me that was going to be an issue with it. Not that it's going to be an issue with all of them, just the test shots, and they're very, very, a lot more fragile, I believe, than the original was going to be, but everything else seems to be pretty dang solid on this guy. So with that, here's the leg. It's going to have some articulation in the knee, and then this is a solid insertion point that's going to go into this hole, and so put it in there. Now the legs are exactly the same on both sides, so I'm going to go ahead and slide that one in there. And I think it's interesting to get to know how things are constructed so you understand how they work. And we're going to take a look at Hacker. We're going to be kind of clearing up the range of Hacker's arms and what can be done right there with Hacker's arms. Let's see here. The antagonist cyborg arms. Now there's a notch in the shoulder, which you're not going to have to assemble yours, but I mean, I just think it's kind of fun to get to see this. It's only one way it can go in because there's a top and there's a bottom. So, and then there we go. And we'll get into the articulation of the arm, but it's gonna go around like this and then kind of out like so. So that works. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So as you can see, articulated, it's do I have enough light on this? There's articulated in a strange direction, so you have to line. I have to line up that there. Now again, it should show up fully assembled for you, and I just think it's fun to get to know the construction of it and how it's built and how it's assembled and how it's put together, and it feels solid, feels good. So okay, so after the assembly process, I went ahead and kit bashed all of the best parts onto this guy right here, and so I think this one will be the best out of the two to take a look at, and we're going to do a lot of stuff with them. So we are going to go ahead and do articulation, the head side to side, and it goes up and down just a bit, mostly down, up a bit, and then so pushing these in on the side, I did kind of swap some things around. So this shoulder goes all the way around, it spins around like so, and then it goes out like this. And so that's all you're going to be doing with the shoulder. On this other side, it's similar, but it's a different arm, so it's different. So that's why we have that. Elbow pretty much just does what an elbow does, goes past the 90, and I do like all of the added tampograph and detail they put in there, line work, all that kind of stuff. None of this is stickers, by the way. This is all printed on like it should be. And then going down to the waist, there's no articulation in the waist. Of course, there was not ever before. You do have friction based, so you could say almost 360 on the side there on the hip. It does not go out. So it doesn't go out, and it didn't before, and I don't think you ever really see that kind of articulation in any sort of animation. And then you have way past the 90 on a single joint. Well, maybe it is exactly 90 on the single joint on the knee. It's a little bit past the 90. You do see some slight wash, like it's been in battle on it. And then the foot, it is the ball joint like we saw in the assembly process. And you have individual articulated toes. And someone did point out it's a lot like on the Ed 209. So like RoboCop Ed 209, it does look like an Ed 209 foot. So it's kind of cool. He does have this bar right here, which is interesting. Very cool. Nice touch. And one last bit of articulation is the cannon. Now you could say, oh, it's not articulation. No, the cannon is spring-loaded, and it is a feature, but it's articulated feature. And it's different because in the vintage one, well, we'll look at that when we do the comparison. We'll show how the difference between the vintage one and this one goes. But really nice. We'll take a quick look at the rest of the features. One really cool thing about having two of these side by side is to be able to show the reverse feature that it has. So obviously we have the cannon out and he's attacking and he's going crazy. Then you can just turn it around, turn the head around, and then turn the arm around, and you get attacking from the back. So it is the same in the front as it is in the back, pretty much all the way across, including, I think it's got this metal bar on the front and the back of it. And so with that, it means you can just flip around and start attacking. So that is kind of cool. One thing I didn't know about this cannon too was you do have to push it in to slide it down, but you don't have to push it in to slide it out. It just slides out on its own. So that's really kind of cool. And it holds in place just fine. And so this one over here on the right is the one that had to have an ankle repair, which not that bad, but it's a little bit more loosey-goosey than what the final run's going to be, or just the one that is a good one. So this one's a little bit loosier-goosey in its standing. So if it falls over, then I put all the worst parts on this one. So if anything happens to that one, it happens to that one. But anyway, I do like how it can flip around. And as you can see, it's got this long arm on the inside and the short arm on the outside. And that's pretty cool overall. So let's go ahead and get into looking at these blast effects. So we did come with two of these blast effects. And I do want to say with these blast effects, they are clear, transparent, and they just plug in like so. Now, I'm not sure. I was thinking that it would plug into this too, but it doesn't. That's not a thing that they did. Or maybe one is included in the final production, but I don't think so. But there's a hole right here in the hand, and it plugs into here. And then there's a hole on this it plugs into. So kind of cool. I'm not sure if it's going to come with two different ones, two of the same ones, or if I was just getting one for each one of these. So not 100% sure about that, but it's still kind of cool to have some blast effect. There it goes. And there it goes. All right, so let's look at the detailing on this. We do have to shine a little more light on the situation in here, and we have lots of paint. There's a little bit of semi-metallic paint going on right here in this area. The eyes are painted, and it's not super reflective, but it looks pretty good. And then going down, tamper graphs here, and the skull and crossbones right there. Crossbones are wrenches. That's really cool. Then we have like warning, danger. Let's see. Let's see if we can zoom in on this. We got it zoomed in. It says warning and danger, and then what does this one say? There's some stuff going on right there. Another one down here. Let's get that focused. Focus. Leg jettison. And then caution. So, cool. Cool, interesting tamper graph and work on that. That's pretty awesome. We can zoom out of this guy. And then everything's exactly the same on the back. So, first verse is... second verse same as this first. Is that what it goes? But yeah, crossbones with wrenches. Now for the most fun part is the comparison with the original Traumatizer. And side by side, they look so different. So this is not a knockoff of the Traumatizer. It is its own thing, but very similar. It has very many many similarities to the original. Now, when you notice, you look at this, it does have this sort of gun piece on this side and a large arm on that side. So let's do a quick reverse. Here we go with a quick reverse on this one here, and as you can see, it's more similar to the original. Now, you don't get these extra smaller guns that clip onto the side, or one of the features with original KENNER Centurions was that you could clip those guns pretty much anywhere. So if you want to clip those guns to the side hole here or the side hole in the chest or something, that's a thing you could do, but I don't really mess with all that. Now, one major difference is the front chest cannon, and in the vintage one it does this, and then you're able to turn the head and shoot. Now, I always thought this is interesting, but I don't like it, especially as a collector. It just was weird that this whole function is how it functioned. So them going this route and it not being a launching missile, but yet being kind of a laser cannon, that's much better in my opinion. I kind of like that, but you still do retain the overall look of it because you do have this what looks like the red missile in the torso, so that looks pretty good. But all of the other tampographs are way different than the stickers that we had to apply to this guy back in the day. So with that, it's similar, but it's different. It is definitely its own thing. And when you get down here to the feet, and we can kind of zoom in on the feet, you notice that the feet are way different, although they have sort of a similar homage to it. But I never really understood on the Traumatizer how these little bitty stubby toes, and then it's really long on the side. I would have thought it would have been the other way around. I would have thought the way it's done here, where you have a longer sort of in the front and back's way longer than the sides, makes more sense for the land drone to me. That's just, it makes it. And from the back, we're not zoomed in on the feet anymore. Okay, this one here has screws in it. This one does not have screws, so you don't see the screw holes. So much better design. I guess it is welded. It's that whole welded or glued together. So definitely some modern improvements to a vintage classic. Technically, the land drone is the second bad guy in the 80s Commanders line. And with that, I'm going to show you some stuff with Hacker, and we do the comparisons. So his arm is intended to spin around, and you can, I think I already popped it out, pops in and it pops out like this. Now it does not go up and down, so you need to angle it in the right way that it's going to spin around. It does not go up and down. There's no more articulation to it other than spinning, which I didn't find any articulation like that when I was doing my review. So that's just kind of the way he is. He is connected with magnets, and so with that, it's something different. And I've heard some people complaining that they don't feel like they're strong enough. But the thing is, if it had tabs in it, then it would hold together technically better than magnets. But they're pretty strong magnets in my opinion. I mean, he's not falling apart through simple use. And yes, when you start moving this, because this is pretty tight, if you're holding him right here, you're gonna move that. But anyway, I like that they did something different, and the fact that all of them going forward, such as the next one, whatever they called the next one that they put out is going to have the same magnets, and you're going to be able to connect their pieces similarly. And I think it's kind of cool. I mean, it's a decision that they make, and I don't think it's horrible. Plus, 99.99% of the time, he just stands on the shelf looking good. Speaking of standing on the shelf looking good, here's how he looks next to the land drone, and these look good. The land drone's a little bit bigger, I think. I mean, the helmet makes him go a little bit above, so, but with the helmet off, in person, the land drone looks bigger. On the camera, Hacker looks bigger. I don't know, same size. Antagonist Cyborg, about the same size. Here he is next to an 80s Commander, and yeah, he needs to be bigger, which I'm glad that the bad guys are so much bigger. So in the vintage line, the bad guys were about the same size as the good guys, and so with that, it really didn't match the show because the mech Doc Terror and Hacker and Centurions were much bigger than Ace and Jake and Max. So with this, 80s Commanders, of course, 80s Commanders is a whole different world, and they've got a whole different story going on than Centurions, but they look sort of similar. And with that side by side, that looks good. That looks good. I like the size. Plus, he's closer to size to the vintage, and let's check that out. And there he is next to the vintage Centurions. If you don't want to spend $500, $600, $800 on one of these, then, well, I don't even think you can spend $500, $600, $800 on them because they're not available every day on eBay or any of the sales sites. Sometimes there's just none on there. This thing's up for pre-order right now, and you can build an army with them for about $70 each if the early bird pricing is still in place. Here's how he fits in with the rest of the Ramen toy family of toys. These are the Silverhawks and soon to be Titanium Titans to finish out the teams, but that's how they look. Let's give Mattel and NECA some love here. This is Mattel's Masterverse Triclops, pretty good looking figure. And the amazing Dungeons and Dragons War Duke from NECA. Really nice, really nice. They look good. And G.I. Joe Classified on the left and Super 7 on the right side. So this is my look at the 80s Commanders Ramen toy land drone, which is sort of a very modernized, updated take to a Traumatizer. And I think it looks pretty good. I think that there's a lot of things they did with this that I didn't expect. I think that this is a nice update to the vintage counterpart and a very, very affordable one. When you're thinking $70 for this or $500 plus for a complete vintage one, this one seems like a steal. And as you could see, it's possible to troop build and army build these much easier than a vintage one. But with that, I like the updates. I like the update with the cannon. I like how he can just turn around. He's the same in the front and the back. There's no screws to take away from that. I do like all of the detail and the tamper graphs they put on this, and it's going to be a fun, welcome addition to my collection. But I'm curious, what do you think? Are you in on these? Are you buying one? Are you buying 10? Because it's possible. 10 for the same price as one vintage one. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll have a link where you can go buy these. Like and subscribe, and Titanium Hanger out.